welcome back to my channel. I'm very excited because today we're going to find out what's inside this box. And let me tell you, a lot of you guys, if you've been watching for a while, know that I love camp cooking. It's one of my favorite things to do while I'm traveling. I like to have big, bold flavors, but also I like to find things that work well in all spaces. So I've tried out everything from air fryers to gas stoves. I have tried out Instant Pots and everything in between. And today we're going to try out what's inside here. It's going to be really fun, so buckle up, Buttercup, and if you like camp cooking, this one might be for you. Inside we go, and I'm just going to peel back this protective layer first. And then inside it looks like it is packaged in a regular box. If you've watched my channel before, you know that I have cooked all sorts of things at my campsites, and I've used everything from specialty pans, which are designed by a company over in the UK, to interesting electric cooking devices and a little bit of everything in between. I just really like to find ways that make life more simple on the road. I've even done like little foil bags early into my channel where I could show you guys how to put together foil bags and put them in a campfire. That was really fun. But today, this one's going to be interesting because this is a different kind of camp stove. When I recently surveyed everyone and asked what you guys would like to see in way of camp cooking, a lot of you were asking for different forms of gas cookers. And because a lot of you wanted to see different kinds, I thought this was a great one to start with. This is the Hot Devil. You can see it comes in a little box like this. It's going to be able to attach to a propane canister, and it'll give us a different kind of cooking device. Speaking of which, here's the propane canister. So let's get this thing kind of outside of all the packaging, and then we'll go through some specs. Starting off, this is a Blue Fire propane canister. It's a pretty large canister, so this will be perfect for cooking. It has a little screw top under here. It's kind of concealed for safety while it's been in transit, and then it also has this little bottom section that helps it not only sit flat, but I do believe that pops off as well. Indeed, it does. It twists and can come off, but realistically, it's what's inside this box, and I opened it upside down, so let's get it out, and then I'll show you what it actually looks like. Here it is inside this, and then there's one additional piece. Okay, the way that this little base piece works is you can actually pull these little sections out. It gives you a little bit more of a footing onto it. We then untwist this plastic piece. That should fit into this section, and that will hold it into place. Overall, it looks like this when the legs are fully extended out, and again, it really holds it into place so it doesn't rock or move, which is nice because sometimes on these taller ones, it wiggles a little bit. Now inside this bag though, this is the part that actually lets it cook, and this is very substantial feeling. Oh wow. And it's pretty big too, so this is cool. This is the HD 5005, and so it's just going to screw onto the gas bottle right here. You have to take this little cap off. There it is, and then after it screws on, we should be able to just start cooking. It shouldn't be that hard. We have a gas control knob, as you can see, so once we turn it on, and then we also have an ignition switch, so that should make it pretty decently easy. This is a sizable top. Now this is considered to be a camp stove. It's a little bit larger than a backpacking stove that folds up, but this is the same amount of space almost as my large butane stove has, but it doesn't have like a box and all the extras. I would have to keep up with this piece and probably get it a safety carrier because it doesn't come with a safety carrier, but this is pretty neat. So in order for this to work, I believe we just put it on and twist. Yeah, it seems to be working. I can actually use this little knob of control to spin it, and then it starts to tighten down. It's almost tight now, so that's great. Not bad. Now I want to keep this part also a little bit more snug. I don't know if you can tighten this section or not. I'm going to look at the instructions before I try start anything up just to make sure I haven't missed anything, but it's definitely on there, so it's not just like something you can just like lift off. Not to mention with this flared base that it has, this is very nice because it makes it where I can easily move this around at camp, but at the same time it is secure. So as long as I have a flat surface, I could cook with this pretty easily. So let's look at the instructions, see if there's anything else, and then we'll do a little bit of a fire it up and see if we could boil water test. This is very handy. It does tell you how to prep it before you put it together. I did already have some knowledge of how these work, so I made sure it was already in the off position, but it does give you some tips for connecting as well as lighting. So this should be pretty simple. For today's demo, I'm just going to be using a saucepan, just a smaller saucepan. I'm going to fill it up about halfway with water and turn it on and see what happens. In order for this to work, we're going to click here. Ooh, that comes out very rapidly. Oh, okay, that is aggressive. We can turn it up or down. I'm gonna turn it way down. There we go, about there. And it is kind of whipping around because I have my ceiling fan on, so I think I'm gonna turn my ceiling fan off. This does not have any form of protectant from the wind though, which simply means that I would need to get a larger windscreen if I'm going to be using this. My windscreen is only about this tall, so this is not quite tall enough. Okay, I'm gonna restart it again and turn it way down. And now I'm going to put my pan on top. It has a nice stream of gas that comes through. Each of those little pinholes allows for a flame, which is great. It's a great size for a pan of this size. This is a very small saucepan, so this would work perfect for this. It may work for a larger pan as well, but the weight distribution has to be perfect for larger pans. As you can see, it's just going in there and it's heating up the bottom. This is working really well. We're gonna time it to see about how long it takes on the low setting to get to a boil. And you can see it's only been on there for about a minute and a half and we already have some bubbles starting to form. Now while this is going, I'm also just kind of checking around to see if there's anything else I need to know. This looks very straightforward, so it's very user friendly. And again, it does have the instructions with clear pictures inside. So it's just a twist, click, and make sure your face is kind of away from it. Now, whenever you're using any kind of stove like this, again, you will probably need a couple of small things. Number one, you want to make sure that you always have the ability to extinguish a fire should it get out of control. I have a small fire extinguisher I always carry in my van. I highly recommend that everyone have that. Also, something that you can have so that you're not touching a hot surface. So if you're going to be using any other kind of pan that doesn't have a rubberized handle, make sure you have something to touch that with. I know that sounds very common sense, but you might be surprised how many people just don't think that the heat translates the same way from such a small stove, but it does. It really does. Now, I've tried out a variety of different backpacking stoves that are small that fold up into very tiny compartments. This one is much more of a flame than those. It's somewhere between those and my larger gas stove when it comes to the output surface. And I will say the larger gas stove has a larger output surface, but it doesn't have as many of these fine points. So with that, let's check on the water. Okay, we're about 2 minutes into the boil. And you can see we're not only having the big bubbles, but we're having the tiny little bubbles as well. It's looking good. It's looking very good. This is how I test out every single stove that I've ever tried, is I always put it on just to boil some water, find out what happens. And in doing so, it tells me approximation of time on a low setting. So this is, again, turned down all the way to the lowest low that you can get it to without it popping up. And so that means it's putting out the least amount of heat that it would normally. Now, overall, this is pretty tall. We'll measure it in just a few minutes to see how tall it is from the base all the way up to the top of this particular pan, and then I'll tell you how tall it is without the pan, so you can kind of get an idea of the spacing. Again, for a windscreen, this would be super important because with propane, it's going to blow that but continue the feed of the propane, but you're going to end up using twice as much propane if you're not protecting it. This is just something I've learned along the way, but passing it on to you guys. Now, there is no wrong way to cook at your campsite. There's just not. Whatever works best for you works best for you. If you want to do something like this, which fits into a very small footprint with just a bottle and the top, that is perfect. You can also do the larger ones. You can even just camp and cook off your campfire, as long as it's where you can have a campfire. That's the one drawback to doing strictly fire cooking, though, is sometimes it just doesn't work out because you might be in a burn ban or something like that. So something like this can be very handy because even during a burn ban, these are usually okay. With that, we are now boiling. We're getting to a nice boil. It's about 3.5 minutes in on the lowest setting, and you can see we have some movement in the water. It's not quite a roll yet, but it's getting there. Now, a couple of other pieces of information that are clearly marked in the book, and I just want to fully disclose all of this to you. These are recommended for outdoor use only because it is a gaseous substance that is circulating, and so with any gas, you need to have a way to vent out that gas. I have a door that is currently open, and that is the only reason that I am filming this indoors. It's just 4,725 degrees with a very big gusty breeze going on right now. So it's just a hot wind that would take us away. But use this outside, don't use it inside. There's a couple of other interesting things as well when it comes to the storage of your gas and the heat that it is good or bad for. Please make sure that when you are traveling, you check that, especially if you are traveling to extremely hot conditions. I always recommend that you check your fuel, and if you're going to be someplace that's just going to be so warm and you're going to be baking in the sun, try to have an alternative way to make your food. It's just better to do it that way than to have one of these cartridges compressed in the heat. heat. They're usually pretty durable, but at the same time, safety always has to come first. Looking good. That means that in about 3.5 to 4 minutes, I could make tea, I could make coffee, I could heat water for a shower, I could cook certain kinds of foods like brothy soups. Again, it's still just going strong, no problem. I am going to, however, do one other little experiment. Okay, since we know that we can turn this up, let's see what it does when we turn it up. Full tilt. It starts to wrap around the bottom of the pan, you'll notice. See that? Wrapping the bottom of the pan. So with one of these smaller pans, that's not gonna be great over time for the pan. So that's just something to note. Now we're gonna let our water hang out for a few minutes and cool off so that I can measure this properly for you guys. So again, very small saucepan on top. So if you have that flame fully gushing out to the level that it can, it's going to wrap the pan. So if you have any kind of coating that might not do as well with direct flame, probably don't use that pan. Regular metal pans are gonna be okay, but that's also going to heat them up to an extreme. So again, you're going to want to make sure you have something that you can grab that handle with, just for safety. Now, something else that I was noticing is they have both a US and Canadian address. This is the Aerosol Gas Company, or AGC, and you can find these online very easily by just looking up Hot Devil. And I found this one on Amazon, and I'm going to leave you a link if you're interested in it. The type of gas that it uses is propane gas, and you can see here the CGA 600 is the compatible cartridge. It has the self-ignition switch, which I was showing you a little bit more about, and it has up to 10,000 BTU of output power. That is crazy. Now, if you are wanting to pick up this stove, it comes as just the stove. The cartridge itself, the propane, does not come with it, so you would have to order that separately. They will ship that, however. Again, just make sure that you're shipping within the standards of Amazon or through the company itself on the temperatures. They usually post those things if it's going to be anything battery or gas related, so just read through, see if there's any tips or anything. But again, the box looks like this. It shows you a very clear assembly. It also tells you a little bit more about the product, as we were noticing, and so that's very, very handy, super user friendly. I would definitely say that if you've never used any kind of propane stove before, you can figure this one out much easier than some of them where you have to take things off, move things around. So this is a very good starter stove for just about anybody. Now, again, with larger pans, it's about balance. So I probably wouldn't use a huge pan. I would probably use something a little bit larger than a saucepan only, maybe like even a larger saucepan or a small skillet. In fact, I have something here that might work. This guy right here. So it's going to be a little bit larger on the base by only a little bit. You can see the difference in the base size here. The base size of this one is going to be pretty large for this size top. However, this one would be perfect. So whenever you're looking around to try to figure out your perfect camp setup, if you're not wanting to use the camping like dishes that are found in the outdoor section and you do want to use just a regular skillet that you already have, I always encourage you guys to pick up things that you already have and use them for your van life journey or your camping journey. Find a medium-sized skillet. That would work perfect for this guy right here. When it comes to height, I'm going to measure it from the top to the bottom. This is just under 16 inches tall all the way up to the top of the pan, and up to the base here, it's about 12.5 inches from the bottom of the stand to the actual fire plate area. The plate surface from side to side is just about a little bit over 5 inches. So that means it's basically a little bit over 5 inches in every direction. So the actual leg portion of the plate, the top part where you put it down, is 5 inches. So 5 by 5 by 5 by 5. And that is your workable room for whatever skillet that you're putting on top of it. I always like to do common sense approach to any kind of review that I do. Is this going to work well in a small space? Is this going to be better for inside or outside? Is this going to work with the average dish size? These are all things that I think about when we're talking about any kind of cooking devices. Now, if you are like me and you have a Ridge Monkey, you could totally use a Ridge Monkey very easily on this because it is already a square pan. The average person doesn't have a square pan though. So that's why I wanted to show you with rounded pans today what this would look like. Now, square dishes are harder to find, so I don't blame you if you only have the round ones. But at the same time, do I think this would be something that would be handy to everyone? Yes, absolutely I do. I think that because of the kind of cylinders that it uses, these are things that you can find at a lot of places. If you did order some online and then, oh no, you ran out of propane, you could find this at a regular store. So this would make this something you could use no matter where you are. Now, the one thing again that I will say is because of that height, the windscreen is going to have to be pretty substantial. So keep that in mind. But I think I'm gonna try to look for one of those on Amazon, and if I find one in the future, I'll be sharing some more cooking with this guy. Now, is this going to be the perfect option for you guys? I don't know. Now in the comment section, tell me, is this something that you would be interested in? And if so, what would you cook on it? I'm curious because I always like a good recipe moment. And if you have any good recipes, leave them below, because I'm about to be doing some more fun cooking and I've got some good ones kind of up my sleeve. So maybe yours could be one of those. Remember guys, we're not here for a long time, but we are here for a good time. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.